Beep, 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 beep. A Radio Stat Zero broadcast. Hello, everybody. We made it. We made it on. Welcome back to Pete. Welcome to the Nest, Pete. Welcome to the Nest chat.
Thank you.
We got Citizen Ronan here. Hello. Dr. Crow's Carnival says, whatever you do, Stat, don't believe a word this guy says. He's a government plant to spread lies about Bigfoot aliens and distract us from vampire, lizard, mole people, Confederacy. Seek the truth. You know, it's funny you say that because the last time Pete and I talked, they put like a little weird disclaimer on my video saying like you're not in trouble, but there's just some crazy information stuff in here about aliens, and you know you really need to do your research.
My job is done.
Yeah, Marcus Gallagher, welcome to the Nest. LECG4, my PP, formerly known as my homie. Confiscate, welcome to the Nest. Hey, Kenneth Roquefort, welcome to the Nest. Hey, Jay Ryan, welcome to the Nest. Michael DJ, welcome to the Nest. Hello all friendly art fans. And Ben Sabar, welcome to the Nest. Good to see you. Marcus Kilger says, I was watching Swamp Mysteries before this.
Nice, appropriate.
And Danger Vanessa, welcome to the Nest. Bird, you have aliens here? I have an alien expert here. It so happens.
Where are the aliens here with us now?
So it's been 4 months. 4 months since you've been to the Nest. You don't call, you don't write. Just show up, say, hey, how's it going? Let's talk aliens.
Yeah, well, you know, that's what happens sometimes when you kick them out of the nest and they just, that's how it is.
I always find their way back home.
They take off and do their own thing. But here I am again. That's
right. And we're excited for it. Because, you know, I don't know if you know this, but on Saturday, the chat is going to go over the King Cryptid books.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. I already did my video on this, but I'll be happy to reiterate what I said. So, yeah, we got Danger Vanessa. We got Amanda.
They like it.
Yeah. They all got themselves issues, and they're all reading them, ready to go.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear what they think.
So I don't know. Well, I think most of the people in this chat know 6 o'clock Central or 7 o'clock Eastern on Saturday. It's going to be King Cryptid time. I'm very excited.
Thank you, guys. Wow. Man, oh man. I'm going to have to tune in and watch without saying a word.
We'll know you're one of the lurkers.
I'll be there.
Oh, I think it's going to go great. We already know I loved it. Speaking of love it, we've got all the descriptions. So we got in the thing down there, the description. You're going to have your links to Pete's channel, to Alterna's channel, to the Indiegogo for Alterna, and the Alterna funding thing itself. If you haven't subscribed to that stuff, go look at that. That's mostly for the replayers and the people that are coming in a little bit later, because I know most of the people here know all this stuff. Oh, of course. And speaking of which, let's look at the stepchild first before we get into the meat of the show. We got
my foster kids.
Some more alternatives coming. And I think
what you drinking, by the way? I'm drinking. Hearing you cracking one, and I'm like, what is he drinking over there?
It's carbonated water.
Okay.
I gave up pop.
Very, very good. Yeah, I haven't had a soda in a while, and even when I do, I don't buy it. It's like on the outside, you know, which is like maybe once or twice a year. But yeah, it's usually seltzer and stuff like that, fruit juice, whatnot.
Vanessa says the dress code for lurking, Pete, is a poncho and a sombrero.
I could do that.
There, back. Sure. Get
That's
yourself
like my normal Saturday night.
absolutely.
Sitting here alone with a poncho and a sombrero on. Just lurking.
So this time around, it's 2 issues of Unit 44. Love that series.
Yeah.
Issue of Horace H. Huber. Love that series. And an issue of Blood Realm. Love that series.
Yeah, they're all so good.
They are.
Yeah. That's the
So-
thing. And this campaign's on both the Alterna website, alternacomics.com. You can go to alternacomics.com/funding, and they'll take you right to it. Look at that. Johnny on the spot here
You know
tonight.
how it is.
And then also on Indiegogo.
Yeah, and this is on. And to find the totals, you're going to be able to go to Alterna, and you're going to find the totals for both of them, which
Yeah.
is 4509.
If you scroll down a little bit on the Indiegogo, you'll find the totals for both too.
Oh, really? Is that on Indiegogo?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I got to manually update it.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see what you're saying.
But
yeah,
I do.
Yeah. Okay. You've got all the. Of course you do. All the add-ons and stuff like that here.
Yeah,
All
and
the-
on this campaign, we got more add-ons than ever before. We've got about 150 or so. We've got all the back issues, not just... Now, in the past campaigns, we would have back issues that correlated to the campaign new releases. So it would have just been like Blood Realm, Horace H. Hoover, and Unit 44. But this time, we have like 99% of our back issues listed on as add-ons. So like King Cryptid's on there, Red Koi's on there, Trespasser, all the books we've got. For the most part, there's going to be maybe 2 or 3 that aren't on there because we only have maybe less than 5, and I don't want to oversell between the 2 sites, so I just left those on the Alterna site.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So is it came out on Wednesday coming back, or did you cap it off at 20?
No, that's coming back. Yeah, we're
Okay,
going to
good.
have a dedicated campaign for that one.
Really?
So that one's going to have a dedicated campaign for 21, 22, and 23.
Oh shoot,
and-
that's exciting.
Yeah, so that'll be around, let's see, Geronimo's got a campaign he's launching in March.
Yep.
And,
He might be back on.
oh, yeah, I mean, he should. He's great. So he's going to do his campaign for 15 to 18 to wrap up that Dawn of the Wolf story arc.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to have the King Cryptid Blood Realm crossover in June. That's going
that's
to be
cool.
launching. So I'd probably say around August. Probably around August we'll be doing it. It came out on a Wednesday, 21, 22, and 23.
Now, are those the top 2 sellers, like King Cryptid and Blood Realm? Would you say?
I'd say... I mean
He's
don't
certainly
tell
been around the longest.
don't tell Rob, but it's King Cryptid. It came out on a Wednesday, and then Blood Realm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that makes sense, I
people
suppose.
really enjoy that. And all I hear about is people that they don't like anthology series or whatever that is. And I'm like, I don't know. They really love the one that we do. Every time it's on a campaign, it's one of the higher ordered titles.
I love an anthology
And
series.
it's on issue 20 for a reason. So people really enjoy that. And it's been great putting it out and great seeing people sending in their short stories. That's the only way we accept submissions now, too, is for it came out on a Wednesday. We don't accept series submissions anymore. But yeah, so Blood Realm, I mean, don't tell Rob. You know, I don't want to hurt his ego or anything. Let him know that it's the second highest selling creator specific series. If you can remember that, tell
But
him
he's
that.
been in that, hasn't he? He's been in. It came out on a Wednesday, hasn't he? At some point.
Yes, he had. I believe it was. Man, I'm gonna butcher it. I think it was like Agent 87 or something like that. It was a short story thing that he
Yeah.
had. It was either in 2 or 3 issues. It was definitely at least 2.
So he's a part of that
yeah.
anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. So he kind of has like shared. He kind of bragging rights.
Yeah. Oh boy.
But Rob definitely. I mean, man, up to 14 issues on Blood Realm. Holy smokes! It's insane. It's wonderful.
Do you think you'll catch up to him? He's gonna have to take a break.
Oh yeah, give me. Let me see. He'll be 18. Give me 2 years, and
2 years.
King Cryptid will surpass Blood Realm. Give me 2 years.
Now that you say that, he's
So-
like, I'm gonna hire some more artists.
maybe it'll light that fire too, right?
Right.
Yeah, because he's gonna be up to 18.
Hmm.
I'll have issue 9 coming out this year. He'll have issue 18 coming out this year. And then we're going to have a campaign for King Cryptid in September for 10 to 13.
Oh, that's
Just
September this time.
yeah, we're
Okay.
going to leave that as it feels like a fall title,
I suppose
not
so.
quite October, but it feels like September-y. So we're going to have a September campaign for King Cryptid, and we'll do that annually. It'll always be September.
Okay.
I want to reserve like the June spot for a fun event sort of thing, which is why we're doing the King Cryptid Blood Realm crossover, and we'll see if that goes over well. Then we'll have another fun thing for next June. But yeah, so that means then let's see, next year then I'll have 14, 15, 16, 17. So yeah, give me 2 years, and then I bet by that time we'll be up to like 22 or so.
Hmm.
And it'll be interesting to see if Rob will get those 4 issues out in 2 years. Otherwise, give me a third year. I'm gonna eventually have more issues out than him.
I don't know. He's starting to get help. He's got
Yeah, we'll
Mr.
see.
Rossi. He's
Hey,
got.
hey, it's the readers win either way, so that's fine by me.
I feel like eventually Rossi's going to be like he's going to be double fisting at 2 different books at the same time, like each hand.
Well, I just talked to Christian today actually, and I finalized him to be on board for King Cryptid number 13.
Oh, cool.
So next year's, but next year's lineup, meaning the books will come out next year, but the
Hmm.
campaign for September with 10, 11, 12, 13. Number 10 is going to be Kier Covington as the artist, and that's going to be
Hmm.
a king-sized issue. Then 11, we're going to bring back Alex Jovich. And then 12, I'm going to be having Russ Leach. Russ Leach is going to be
Really?
drawing an issue.
Wow.
Yeah,
That'll be cool.
the comic book black belt himself. So he'll be on number 12, and he'll be doing that Santa Claus issue, the Christmas issue I was talking
Oh,
about
cool.
a while back. And then 13 will be Christian Rossi. And then I'll start getting things in the works for 14 to 17 sometime early next year.
Wow. That's great. I can't think of a bad artist in that lineup though.
Ain't a one. They're all great.
I feel like Kira is going to kind of be the one that's associated closest with King Cryptid though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it shakes out. There's definitely a method to the madness of when I choose artists for specific stories. Like Christian is coming back because the Behemoth is coming back.
Yeah.
So Behemoth is going to come back on issue 13 in a big way, and I want him to take the charge of that story because it's very important. I think that he comes back for that. I think he can tell that story in a really great way. It's going to be a very emotionally charged story because, and this is hinting at something that you guys aren't going to see for 2 years in your hands, but you'll see it later this year in a campaign. But Behemoth is on a path of trying to figure out what was done to him, and he's not too thrilled about it. So he's going to kind of be butting heads a bit with King Cryptid, who's going to try to be a friend to him, like he was in the past when they met in issue 1. But he's going to come across Behemoth in a different state of mind this time around. And it's going to be one of those, look, if you're my friend, get out of my way.
Mhm.
And if you're not going to get out of my way, we're going to butt heads. So that's kind of what issue 13 is going to be.
Just like some of that classic, like the Thing is really angry and Hercules is trying to talk to him, and they're gonna beat each other up on the cover, kind of thing like that. So you've got. I'm holding right in my little hand, my little claw, a 3-inch King Cryptid figure or figurine.
Oh yeah.
I got the gray one, not only because it was the only one, but I actually like it better that way because it almost looks like like an actual statue. You know what I mean? Like it's made out of like granite or something. So I wouldn't paint it. I like that. Maybe I'll put a little hedge next to it, a little shrub or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So I got Behemoth coming. How
Nice.
many others are you looking at doing in the set?
We're gonna do all of them. So I'm gonna have a reader vote for the next one, and up for voting will be Victor Lugo, the Granite Beast, Brug, and the White Mountain Yeti. And so people haven't seen White Mountain Yeti just yet, other than on the cover and maybe the first preview page. But we're gonna have all of them, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Because I do want to eventually have Dr. Carol and maybe possibly the rest of her cryptozoologist team. I know people have been asking for Orion. Orion was kind of like a sleeper hit of a character. That's her bear. But they're all going to be to scale based off of that 3-inch king cryptid.
Okay.
They're all like 1/28th scale or something along those lines. So everything is going to be to scale based on him. So Victor Lugo will be a little smaller because he's like 6 feet tall. So he'll be like maybe like 2.5 inches tall. The behemoth is going to be, he's 4 inches tall because he's 9 feet tall compared to King Cryptid at 7'2". And then Granite Beast is going to be pretty big. He's going to be about 7 inches or so tall because he's about 20 feet tall compared to King Cryptid 7 foot. And then Broog is going to be huge. He's going to be like a 9-inch tall. Like he's going to be a big dude.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I was going to do, when it started, I was going to have the 5 and the 3 and then keep building them to scale. So if people wanted the bigger, they could get that, and if you wanted the small, they could get that. And then when I was looking at Broog, I was like, "Oh my lord, Broog is gonna be like 15 inches tall." I'm like, I can't.
Like 10 pounds each.
Yeah. I'm like, we can't print anything that's that big at this point in time. I know he'd be like in pieces. So you'd have to put them together and assemble them. But then I'm thinking though, like, who's got the room on a shelf for that at this point in time? So maybe eventually we'll revisit doing the larger to scale figures and make that like one a year instead of a more frequent schedule. But for now, I definitely want to do all of them. There's a lot of characters to get these done, and I think it'd be so cool to see that play out, especially when they're all there and they're to scale and
they're ridiculous quality. I love the sculpt on this thing.
Yeah, they're great. They're resin printed. Mike Smith prints them up, and he does a wonderful job. And he's sending out the behemoth to us soon, and that was sculpted by a guy. His name is Arthur Helmet, and the first sculpt of King Cryptid was done by Nick Hunter, who's the artist on issues 2, 5, and 7.
Right, that he did a wonderful job. That's great. He's happily sitting on my shelf next to Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
Build my alternate toy. You know what this kind of reminds me of? Like in the 90s, you had like all these properties. Some of them maybe shouldn't have been kids' cartoons. You had like Toxic Crusader, you had Swamp Thing, you had
RoboCop.
RoboCop. Yep, there's Rambo was there. Like they all had a toy line. They had a crappy LJN NES game, which I mean, some of them are still endearing even if they suck. They had the cartoons. They had the comic book tie-ins and stuff like that. I almost feel like, with the exception of the LJN game, King Cryptid feels like it's heading that way. Maybe not the cartoon. I don't know, but it feels like it would fit right in that time of like.
Oh, interesting. I could see that.
Don't you like Toxic Avengers? You know how they had like all kinds of like weird kid-friendly characters, and then the parents were like, "Hey, let's rent the movie."
Yeah, well, you know what I really loved back when I was a kid, and I mean, who didn't? Because between Ninja Turtles and all of that stuff too, the ooze that would come with certain figures, and
right.
I remember having like Spider-Man toys where I think like Venom, one of the Venoms or something came with ooze. And that was interesting. You put on your figure and you ruin your figure, but hey, it was worth it because it was ooze. Now, one of the things I opened up years later and it had solidified. That was that was quite the experience. Seeing that. Yeah, but that was great. And we could work in some toxic ooze into the King Cryptid storyline. There's definitely more than enough. There's more than enough characters, and the New England Cryptid Research Organization definitely would have ties with some unseemly other corporations that may be investing in the properties of various oozes. So we'll see.
Perfect.
I'll get that going.
That'd be cool. So are these all coming from like the same like sculptor, like people like that, like the 3D printing and stuff like that, or you?
Well, I want to work with Arthur again because Nick is really busy. So
yep.
I want to work with Arthur again. He does such a great job with the Behemoth. So depending on what people vote for, I'll send him, because I was shocked. He gave me back the Behemoth sculpt. Obviously the 3D sculpt of it. He gave me back that in like a day or two.
Really?
Based off of reference shots of Christian Rossi's art, and he did a great job with it. It's intense. you can see like the little. I got the prototype, and you can see all like the details on like the wings and whatnot, and like
Oh wow. Is that
and
the
like the
only size for
fur.
that?
Yeah, the only size for this right now is the 4 inch.
Oh, that's cool.
We have it in glow in the dark, which won't be made again.
Right.
And then the this size, the 4, and they're both 4 inches. But the this one, it's incredible with all the little detail, and it stands there. It sits down, and well, it doesn't sit, but he stands, and it's wonderful. He did a great job.
Plus, like I said, it looks like a little statue. I kind of prefer it that way. If anything,
Yeah,
you could almost put like some like granite like texture on there too. Make
absolutely.
it look
Yeah,
like it's made out of stone or something like that.
yeah.
Like a beach painting.
Even I painted one of them with kind of like a ink wash. I painted a
Hmm.
king cryptid with that, and that was fun. That came out kind of cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy what they could do now with these printers, and then the people that can really paint them up really really good. Man, it's a whole other thing. But it's been really cool seeing that come to life because I didn't think that would have been a possibility. I didn't think we could have done that for years,
No.
and now it is. It's a possibility. So I'm looking forward to seeing what do people want next, and then we'll go with that.
Well, I kind of prefer this to the like say if you went like the multiple points of articulation and accessories and things like that. I mean, it'd get expensive for everybody, but I mean these are much easier to collect, and
Yeah,
they're great little figurines. I mean, you could have possibly gone like the React route with like 4 points of articulation or something like that, just the arms and legs that go up and
yeah.
down. But this is probably a much better option, I
Yeah, I
think.
like the idea that they're like mini statues. There's something iconic looking to it. It's a little bit more distinguished. If you can do the articulation, then go for it. But if it's literally like the up down whatever, and just for it to be, I don't know, man, it gets expensive, and then for it to be probably twice the cost for people, and
Yeah.
not having the same kind of sculpt, I think would be such a shame. So for us to do it like this, it comes out so awesome. And I've seen some people doing like the paints and stuff on it, and it's just awesome. It's just so great. I can't believe it. But yeah, so this thing being a reality on that level, it's not something that I expected, but I'm very happy about it.
Oh, I could almost see like way down the line in the future, just like printing up a bunch of like those like fold in half cardboard game boards, and having
Oh
like you've bought game pieces this entire time. Now buy the rule sheet and the little like '90s game board that like folds in half.
yeah,
You could ship that out, and then they can choose their character to play in the game board or something like that.
absolutely.
Or neoprene, they also do those too. The
And even
neoprene.
if we wanted, we could do like smaller pieces. They'll be uniform though in size and have
Yeah,
like a chess set kind of
I
thing
wonder how
going
much
on.
like
But that's
pewter costs.
man, yeah. Is
Yeah, that'd
well,
be
yeah.
cool.
I know we want to get some Blood Realm figures going on too. So
No, I saw that.
Rob's looking forward to that.
I saw a Horace H. Hoover figure. Like he did hand painted and 3D printed all that
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fabrizio, he's working with a guy. He's got his own stuff set up with that, and it,
Some
it
letters
came
there.
out pretty cool.
Yeah, fully painted and stuff. He said he did like 50 of them or something like that.
Yeah, like I can't imagine that, like fully painting all of those, and it's incredible.
I'd be interested to see what Rob comes up with. I know he was working on like I thought he was working on a Chiron Morble, kind of like similar to this King Cryptid here. Like probably like in terms of design or build or something like that. But some of the monsters that he has in that series would probably make really great little figurines too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and he's got a ton of characters, and hopefully we can kind of do that in the same way,
Geez,
and
if he wanted
maybe.
to do a board gaming, being like a Risk
Oh
or
man,
something like that.
yeah, yeah. Who needs to make comics anymore? Seriously.
Right. It's a supplement, right? You know how it is. The comic book fuels everything else, like
Yeah,
the imagination. So,
exactly. And
oh
that's the thing is that this stuff is great, and coming up with all the characters, and then people can get familiar with them, and they see the storylines play out and everything else. And if they can own one of their little favorite characters, why not? All the better. That's what I
yeah,
really loved about comics when I was a kid, and all of the trading cards and the figures and everything else that was there in between. The characters meant something to me, and so I was like, man, I gotta have that. That's so cool, and because you care about it.
Yeah,
And that's the same thing I think that's going on here right now, because there's so many things that are leveling the playing field for independent creators, where before this kind of stuff was a dream, and maybe an impossible dream at one point in time too for a lot of people, and now it's becoming more and more accessible. And if people want it, why not go ahead and make it?
which it's getting. I mean, I don't want to say easier all the time, but it's certainly getting to be more like there are more avenues to get to that destination than there ever were before.
Oh yeah.
Of course, figuring it out is sometimes another situation entirely. But I mean, no, shoot,
Yeah, just knowing that
it's possible.
you're able to do that. Yeah, it's possible. You're able to do it. It just depends. Like, can you and do you want to devote time and energy into that aspect of it? And what is that like? Are people also wanting it too? And again, we got social media is a tremendous tool for that too, to engage with people and see how interested are they.
Yeah.
To have something like this. So you have like your own little focus group in a way. You have all these tools at your disposal that are just like, there's another name for it, but the companies used to have kind of like the stranglehold on these sorts of things. But now it's so accessible to the independent creator. And I think it's the greatest time right now to be an independent creator. No time like it.
Well, I was talking about this a little bit on my stream last night, where it seems like in the last 2 years, a lot of people have kind of woke up to like the fact that like Hollywood, the music industry, they're not very good places to be, for the people that work there and the creatives and stuff like that. Much less the fans are starting to kind of realize that, it's not we don't really matter as much. So you've got so many more people that like like a lot of other independent people, where it's like it's rock solid. Why they're there, what they're there for. Their motives are pretty clear, and there's never been a better time to like find that kind of thing versus just staying with stuff that you're like, well, I don't really like it, but I've been here this much, or my whole life.
I mean, I think there's people that can thrive within that traditional corporate system. And I don't necessarily want to knock the fact that they feel more comfortable there. If
Right.
that works for them, and you could do very well there.
Yeah.
We've seen that happen with a lot of people over the years. But if you're someone, I think, that's more entrepreneurial, you're a bit more of an independent spirit, maybe more of a visionary with what you want to do, and you've got that drive, and you also have not just the desire, because you need the desire, but not just the desire to acquire knowledge, because knowledge is useless if you don't apply it, if you don't
Right.
act on it. People go, oh, knowledge is power. Well, knowledge is power only if you apply it. So if you are someone who is willing to act and do the things that must be done and be consistent with it, by all means, man, now is the time. And you can pursue that path and have tremendous success with it. But yeah, it's interesting because people can still go the other path and have success as well in whatever way, shape, or form they have that in. But it's not the kind of thing where, and I see this conversation happen a lot, where some people go, well, if you're creator owned, you'll have all the fame and fortune of whatever the bigger company would have done for you.
That's not necessarily true.
Not necessarily true. So that's the type of thing where it depends. Well, what kind of person are you, and are you willing, ready, and able to every single day go out there and do what must be done, and continuously do that and have that consistency, because then, and only then, are you really going to be able to utilize fully every single benefit of being creator owned and what that means. Otherwise, if you just sit on it and go, well, I'm creator owned, I own 100% of it, it's like, okay, that's great. What are you doing with it? Waiting for someone to give me my big deal. Well, that's not going to happen. You got to go out there and you got to pound the pavement, and you got to get things done, and you got to, it's all the nitty gritty, 1,000 other little things to make it work, along with having the ideas, along with having the drive. That's what's going to get you to where you got to be. And then on top of all of it, you got to have patience. And you have to never get in the mindset of it's the customer's fault. They're
Right.
just not supporting me. No. What it is that, and you can't blame the economy, and you can't blame this, and you can't blame that, because there's a million other things that people are doing out there. It could be a bad economy, and there's people out there you can find even just one example of one who's kicking butt on your level, and you go, what are they doing? They're not going, oh, it's a bad economy, it's this and that, it's fault, and whatever else it is. They're doing something. They are keeping at it, and they are finding a way. And you have to be just as creative in your storytelling, your character design, whatever else it may be, as you have to be in business. And if you can't be that way, and you can't take ownership for, well, if there's a failure, it's because we just didn't do something the right way, or we didn't do the right things enough. And you have to be able to take ownership of that and move forward. And some people just can't do that. And unfortunately, they are often met time and time again with consistency of failure, as opposed to winning where they need to win. But you're going to have failures. That happens. But, to have few and far between of them, you really have to take ownership of that and learn and go. And what better way is there to hear that than to say that, it wasn't anyone else's fault. It was mine, which means that if it's my fault, I can make it succeed. I can actually turn this around. I have the power to do that. Everyone knows what to do. It just depends. Are you doing it? And most of the time, unfortunately, if you're failing, it's because you're not doing the things that you know you need to do. And you're not doing them enough, consistently enough, or well enough. And it's about getting back to basics with that. And that's a tough conversation sometime to have with yourself.
I think you got to have the attitude. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you have to have the attitude where you're going to assume it's going to take years. Not, like by this time in 6 months, I'm going to own this place kind of thing. You just got to understand that setbacks sometimes could happen. You might be like, okay, so possibly I might get there, but I could be 43 years old. But, as long as I'm consistent, I think ties into your patience portion there. Sometimes, you're going to take a little while to get there. Some people have it right away. It's just right time, right place, right audience, or something like that. And others, there are a lot of brilliant people out there that are kind of treading water. 100%.
Absolutely. And I like what Jason Unhinged is saying in the chat. He's saying good stuff. You said above, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and stay humble but confident. Absolutely.
Or in our case, the journey of 1,000 hours starts with one click.
Yeah, well, every single thing. I've talked to so many people, and also I've felt this way over the years too, where if I had only started sooner, and I think those are like everyone's words with a variety of things. If I only got started sooner. So if you were looking at something 5 years ago, you're like, 5 years ago, I talked myself out of whatever it was towards your goal. You wanted to do whatever in terms of drawing, making your comic, putting on a YouTube show, whatever it is, writing your book. And then you didn't do anything. And now it's been 5 years. And now you finally have managed to muster up the attitude of, yes, I'm going to do this, and the first thing you're going to think is, man, I just should have started 5 years ago. You'd be so many more years or whatever it is ahead of the curve at that point in time. But then the other part kicks into, don't beat yourself up too hard. At least you're starting right now. So that's the part that's great about all of this, is the fact that it's a confidence builder. The more you stick with it, but you can't beat yourself up. It's so much about attitude. I've seen tremendously talented people over the years. I've worked with a lot of them, but the attitude was such a defeatist attitude. No one's ever going to read the book, and who's going to look at the video. Only like 2 people are watching, and it's like, well, do you hear yourself with that attitude? Do you want to support an individual who is doing that? No, so it doesn't matter. Stop beating yourself up. Get out there, keep giving it your best effort, and maintain a sense of positivity. And yes, I know it's difficult at times. It really can be. But you have to truly, truly believe that yes, I can do it, and I'm going to do it, and then you apply yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but man, if you don't have that, and the attitude is the opposite, and it's constantly defeatist, I tell you, you're never gonna get it done.
Well, the fact is, like, especially with YouTube, usually with people, the more you do, the more confident you get. And then with books, if you're up to, like, say, like Rob's up to, what is he? He's like 13, 14 right now. So
Yeah,
somebody reads
13 issues
14
done,
and
14 now. Yep.
yeah, somebody reads 14 and they say, "Wow, this is pretty darn good." They're probably going to go back and take a look at the other 13. It's like a retroactive sale kind of thing, and they're all there waiting for them. It's just
Yeah.
like your channel. You got some good like your interviews that you've been running. Somebody trips upon you and says, "Well, what's this?" Watches it for a while. That's pretty good. Hey, I know this guy. Let me watch that one. Oh, hey, I know these two here. Let me just put those on in the background, and then pretty soon, your views backwards are going up because
Yeah,
people are
absolutely.
liking what you're doing, and they're going to go back and, like, with reviews too. Like, oh, I know this book. What's he think about this? Does he match with me?
Yeah.
No. Okay. What about this one?
100%. And what I'm talking about right now too is not to finger wag at anybody. It's mostly finger wagging at me, because I put myself in those positions over the years, and I've had to have some tough conversations with myself about, are you really doing what you should be doing? Are you really keeping your priorities straight? Are you
Mm-hmm.
really doing what you think is your purpose and your focus? And there were too many no's that I was responding to myself about.
Mm-hmm.
I really had to kind of analyze, okay, what can I do? What do I need to do? And then what do I need to learn? Where do I need to kind of take care of some of my blind sides and take care of some of the things that I'm not maybe that great at? And if I'm not that great at it too, how can I learn from others, or maybe even hire them to do what would need to be done in a good way? So I've had to have those conversations over the past 2 years, especially with me, and I'm seeing, yep, this is doing certain things and sticking to them, building up those. Well, then you must be me 3 or 4 years ago. So it's one of those things where I'm not going to say I have all the answers about anything. Man, I don't. If anything, I'm constantly asking questions so I can find answers from others, and opening myself up to the fact that I don't know a whole hell of a lot about a lot of things, and that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. And if anything, that's what's going to enable me to learn and grow constantly, and which is so important. And I think it's something in this space where people, they want to appear like they have a lot of knowledge and they're experts, and they got all the answers, and then that's confidence. But confidence is being comfortable with knowing what you don't know,
Right.
and that's fine, and that you are willing to learn and grow and move forward like that. And that's the thing that inspires me, is seeing so many people out there that are of that attitude, and they keep at it, and they keep doing what they got to do, and maybe they'll stumble sometime, but they get right back up and they keep on going. And that's inspiring to me. The person who has all the answers, or seems to have all the answers, and is an expert or whatever, and that's not really that inspiring or interesting to me. It's the person who can kind of relay, like, yeah, this is what I learned from my experiences, my mistakes, and maybe you can learn from these too. And that I find incredibly inspiring.
Well, they say the truth is out there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Old Dirty Fatty, he attributes his lack of success to the man keeping him down. It gives him a warm feeling. I suppose if he's got one of those weighted blankets.
Yeah, well, I mean, the man is keeping you down. That's for sure. But whether or not they keep you down or not, it's your choice. Do you stay down? It's that kind of a thing. So, yeah,
Right.
I mean, I hear you, Old Dirty Fatty.
Well, I mean, you're definitely practicing what you preach, though. I mean, before King Cryptid came out, you were sitting there talking about, I'd watched you through the years. You were talking about, like, different things that were going on in comics that we didn't have anymore. you didn't see anymore. It's a much different game than it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like, well, I think if I did it, it would be this way. And you have done it. And I don't think to this point I've heard anything bad about King Cryptid. And a lot of
No,
people
I
have read it.
haven't either. Maybe people are being very kind.
No, but
But I've
I
heard a
will
lot
say,
of amazing, wonderful things that have really taken me back.
which see
And
that's a testament, because most people, just like an Amazon review, most people don't leave reviews. Most people don't talk about it. A lot of times, I've said this before, you get a post on X that says like, "Hey, I got the book. It looks great. Thanks," and then you never ever hear from it again. Between you and I'd say Groken, those two books I've probably seen, more of the fans talking about and discussing than almost any other crowdfunder
wow.
that I've seen come across my timeline. So that's got to say something about the quality that you put out there. That and a lot of people are looking forward to the next pack of King Cryptid books too. Like it's a really cool thing. It's really cool to be a fan of King Cryptid because there is a lot of talk about it. Some of these
Thank
other
you,
ones,
man.
we're all fans, but nobody's talking about them.
Hmm.
But with that book in particular, I
Well,
noticed people are actually talking about it, which is awesome.
Well, I don't want to tell people what to create and how to create it, but I think, and this is something I've observed over the years, and this is something that I'm putting my creative money where my creative mouth is.
Sure.
And I really think there'd be a lot more conversation if we did have books that were more ongoing, episodic.
Yeah.
Books that were the way comics were made for a very long time. And that means maybe you have a longer way to tell that story in a graphic novel, whatever it may be. Or you can do the single issue approach. And with the single issue approach, you're getting, like with King Cryptid, you're getting a lot of story in each issue. It isn't drawn out. I could have went in there and made issue 1 4 issues. I could have easily drawn that story out. It didn't need to be that way, but I could have done it. And then all I would have is one story with just the characters that were in issue 1. There wouldn't be that second story with the granite piece. There wouldn't be the third one with the flashback with the kids and setting up a whole other story arc. There wouldn't be the fourth one with Broog and, the cryptozoologist team. And then the same thing goes for issues 5 to 9. That could have been another story arc as well and stretching that out. So by having the ongoing episodic kind of format, I could have all these characters within there, build them up, build up the world, develop the main character continuously as he's experiencing the different things that are transpiring over those issues. And the reader goes along for the ride, and they're tapping into every single issue is like a moment in time for these individuals, whoever it may be. And I think if we had more comics like that, I think it'd be easier to have conversations about them because you're experiencing so much more, as opposed to like the one graphic novel or whatever it may be, and sometimes it's one and done, and there's no more of that character ever again. It's the difference between, you see a movie that's just a one and done, and you go, oh, that was great, and then that kind of fades from mind. Or you see a franchise that has, these really great stories with multiple characters. Or the difference even of a TV show that's had a long run with a bunch of episodes, lots of characters, lots of moments, and they all hit you in an emotional way in different way, shape, or form, depending on how that series is. It's a big difference between those things. And I think that if we had more comics that were like how comic books pretty much were for decades, I think we would have more conversation like that. And I think people could do that too. Everyone goes, oh, that sounds like it's really difficult to write that way. But all you got to do is be willing to edit things down to what is necessary. What is necessary within that story. Because I get so many submissions, or I used to anyway, when we had submissions open, where we would take the first 8 pages. And a lot of the time, I'd say 80 to 90% of the submissions that came through, the first 8 pages, I'm like, I have no idea still what's going on here. I have no idea. I don't know who the characters are. I don't know what this world is. I don't know what they're about. I don't know what the motivations are. And that's 8 pages. 8 pages is like a third of the book. Mm-hmm. And to have no idea really of anything that's going on, more than just like a superficial, okay, I see who these individuals are, but I really don't get why they're doing what they're doing. There's nothing that's compelling me to read further. That is something that's it's a hallmark of either no editing or bad editing, because you could distill those 8 pages maybe to 2. And then now you got 6 more pages to work with. And then on top of that, what happens if you're an independent creator and you're putting your budget together, you don't need to bloat out your story to be maybe 100 or so pages. You could put that story in 30 or 40. Now all of a sudden you just chopped off 40, 50 pages of budget, and you don't have to have that done because you chose to be more concise and impactful with your storytelling. So you benefit in every way, shape, or form. The pacing benefits, the reader benefits, you benefit monetarily. You know, and that's a big difference. And there's a lot of people that aren't doing that because they think they need to really kind of do what has kind of happened in modern comics, I think, for the longest time, which is to really kind of drag things out as long as possible. They're thinking more in like a cinematic movie approach of like every panel is like, you know, scene by scene by scene. But no, it's those are snapshots in time, and you got to make sure you're picking the most important ones. And that's how you'll more effectively tell that story. But again, I don't want to tell anybody how to make the story, but I'm seeing a lot of things over the years, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and that's how King Cryptid is. I'm seeing a lot of things over the years and just observing as a fan and also as a creator and as a publisher. A lot of the things I'm seeing that would be different if there was a course correction in the methodology of storytelling.
Well, you know, another thing that I noticed about that, I mean, about King Cryptid is not only do you release four issues, so people kind of get an idea who Cryptid is. They get 4 monsters or whatever, you know, to kind of decide like what would it be like if he really went up against, you know, the Granite Beast, or would it, you know, again a rematch or something. Because I've said like books like this, superhero books, usually it's like the second time around where it builds. Like the first time you get the introduction, but it doesn't really come into its own until, like, you know, the Green Goblin. He's the nemesis 3-4 times down the line, not the first time. You watch him on that broomstick that he had, and you go, oh, all right, he's just another Spider-Man villain. And
same thing with like the Joker. And, you know,
And then you take like, and I don't think I've seen this before, where you take like issue 1 and continue it in 5, and then like 6 and continue it in 7, so that, you know, but it's a complete story. But then you have, you know, something else. I don't know that I've seen. That's clever. I gotta hand it to you, man. That's not only creating some questions for them to come back, but they've got themselves a complete story there, in case, you know, they're good.
It's mostly too because I don't want to dump a story that might not be as enjoyable to someone at this moment in time, and then do like a 3 or 4 parter. So like issue 3, at the end of that, it says that the story picks up again in 8, and at the end of 8, it's going to say it picks up again in 11. And the reason for that is because I do want that kind of absence to make the heart grow fonder, but I also want people to kind of, as they're absorbing the other stories, there's things that occur between issue 3 to issue 8 that's important into understanding a fuller scope once you get back into the mindset again of revisiting issue 3 through issue 8, and so on with revisiting issue 8 through issue 11. You read 9 and 10, and it adds a deeper context. And if the readers are picking up certain things, they'll get a fuller picture by the time they revisit that story. Even though those stories don't really have much to do with what's going on, you get more a sense of the world and a sense of the characters. So there's going to be things a lot of the time where the readers are aware of them that King Cryptid or other characters are not aware of. You know, so they'll have different vantage points. And I think that's really important to have that dramatic irony where you're kind of on the inside, you know, and you're aware of where certain characters are going and what they're doing, and they might not be aware that that is the path that they're on.
That doesn't happen in comics much anymore.
No, it really doesn't. And I always loved that about comics, is that you felt like that. It's
like the page turn, like you got to find out along with the characters, where, you know, for some comics it does work better, where it's like it's not the destination, it's the journey getting there. So you know how it's going to end, or you know what's going to happen. But you know, Columbo went I don't know how many decades with that formula, where right in the beginning they told you who the killer was and how they did it, and then the fun of the series was watching Columbo piece the whole thing together.
Yeah, exactly. you know. And there's definitely issues that it's kind of like that, and then sometimes there's issues too where we're all discovering everything at the same time as it plays out,
Right.
and that's the fun, is being able to kind of mix that around. The series, I've said it before, but King Cryptid is mostly in spirit inspired by Batman the Animated Series,
Sure.
Thundercats, Real
Mhm.
Ghostbusters, you know, a lot of great animated shows,
Yeah.
along with the comics that I loved and I grew up with. But it's got that. I make it a point to have that complete story within each issue. It's so important to me that you get a complete middle, beginning, and end. And in the end, there's answers, but they make more questions. So they springboard off of where to go after
And I
that.
suppose just when they think they have the answers, you change the questions.
Exactly. Just like Roddy Piper did.
Now, I got to ask this. How much, so as far as Blood Realm, Horace H. Hoover, Unit 44, how much do you know in advance? How much do they tell you in advance about what's going to happen in the stories before, like you get the files to put together and everything like that?
They don't tell me a whole hell of a lot, you know, and so I'm the first person, I guess, that gets to read them before you guys. So if I see something that's like jarringly horrible, I'll say something, and I'm like, this is not the way you want to do this. And that's only happened maybe 4 or 5 times throughout Alterna's 18-year
Mm-hmm.
history, especially since we've been publishing single issue series in 2017. But as far as getting the go ahead or whatever and things like that, they don't really clue me in on a whole hell of a lot. And I mean, they don't necessarily have to, because I'm not their editor.
Yeah, right.
But and I don't have like creative say. It's
Mm-hmm.
100% creator owned. So whatever story they want to tell is how they want to tell it. But if there is some like jarringly, just a big red flag, I'll say it just to be like, look, I'm kind of like the first line of defense for you. But if you do this, I don't think people are going to like it. So you may want to revisit this and do that, take a look at that, But more often than not, instead, I give positive feedback where, like let's say with Tyler Wentland with Red Koi,
Mm-hmm.
he had his Swan King one shot. And I was like, do you plan on doing anything else with the Swan King? Or is that it? And he's like, well, maybe one day in the future I'll do a Swan King series and this and that. I'm like, how about maybe bringing Swan King into Red Koi?
He fits. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, these are like high fantasy characters. They both exist outside of some kind of timeline that you would say correlates to the real world. And why not? Why can't they exist within the same world? Make them come across each other, and now they're on a journey together. And he fell in love with the idea. I have more ideas for Tyler,
Ran
but
with
I
it.
don't want to. Yeah, I saw what he did with that. He became obsessed with the idea all of a sudden, and now we're at a present state where Tyler needs like 2 more years or something to finish out the series, and he was gonna bow out at first, and because he's got so much going on with his
Mm-hmm.
personal life, and he's like, I can't do this to you. I need so much more time, and I don't have
Yeah,
the time to promote properly the way I would want to, the way you and the readers deserve.
I get that.
And so he did that, and then it occurred to me one day that I'm like, why don't we just put your book on hiatus, and you don't have to leave and do whatever else, and then when you're ready to come back, we'll just do the rest of the series. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm glad it worked out that way, because Tyler's
Yeah.
a good dude, and a talented guy too. So there's a lot of different things that have transpired over the course of Alterna history like that, where I kind of give a nudge in a direction, and sometimes they listen. Well, most of the times they listen, sometimes they don't, and that's fine too. But then there's other times where there's a red flag, and I'm like, look, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the art's taking a dive here. The storytelling is very confusing there. The character development, you're leading with like this big thing here, and then you abandon it completely. You don't want to do that. You want to continue to build.
Yep.
Keep that momentum, and keep that consistency if you're doing certain art, storytelling, etc. And a couple times the creators are like, go F yourself, essentially. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess we can't put that book out.
So now, on the other side of the spectrum, how often are you surprised by say these 4 books, these 4 titles when you're reading them for the first time? How many times you've seen a lot in your 18 years? How many times would you say these guys, Wes and Fabrizio and Rob, they throw you for a loop and make you turn the page and go wow, or laugh at a joke, or like turn your head, cock it, and go like that's different. What am I looking? Holy cow, that's cool. Like
Oh
how often
yeah,
does that
yeah.
happen?
All these guys have done that. They're so talented, and especially the way that they're telling their stories. I love when they take twists and turns that I just can't predict where they're going. I told Rob years ago, I stopped trying to predict where he's going with this story. I just let him tell the story.
Yeah, he could have called
Uh,
the series left field.
yeah, I used to try to predict. Okay, well, this is how this is probably going to play out, and and he would throw a curveball right in the middle of what I thought was going to be the twist or whatever. I thought he was going to zig, but then he zagged,
Yeah.
and it really keeps it interesting.
Oh yeah.
And I just give up trying to
Yeah.
predict where that story's going. It's
And
just it's
that's a
fun.
great thing about that title, because it's like, they're walking and all of a sudden they go into this cave and it's a nether realm full of like dark beasts and stuff like that. And you're just, oh,
Yeah.
what? Wait, whoa. It just kicks into a new gear and leaves you in the dust. Same with Horace H. Hoover, with like one of the pages he showed with like a library, and there's this huge like figure with all kinds of pages and stuff like stacked to him.
Oh yeah,
He knows
yeah.
how to create like an atmosphere
Yeah, the
thing.
book bug. He kind of looks like me when I was like 10 years old playing
Right.
goalie for in the
And then
neighborhood
Wes,
for
I mean,
hockey.
I've shown my wife a few panels and things like that and she's not a strong comic reader. She's read some stuff, but she's even gotten a laugh out of some of the stuff that he said in the books and stuff. So I mean, that's a strong comedy title, Unit 44.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
and it's getting better and better too. I think Wes
yeah,
and Alex are really hitting a nice comfort zone, but that they're not getting complacent, but they're getting very uh, familiar with the characters, the world, and the pacing. Because it's all about pacing with both horror. I mean, it's always about pacing, but horror and comedy, a
yeah,
very similar pacing. The beats,
yep.
the tension and release, all that kind of stuff. It's very similar.
He
And
feels like he's got some rules that he's following, that he's
yeah,
written up for himself. Yeah,
yeah, they're doing a great job. 9 and 10 are the best yet, and
is that right?
I mean that. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Because the warp episode was pretty dang, or, the warp issue was pretty dang good. The crossover issue,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a tough
Well,
one to follow.
8 was great, and a lot of people thought that the series was canceled after 8, especially the way Wes ended it, where they die. The Grim Reaper accidentally kills them, and so 9 they go to hell. They find themselves in hell, and the question is, will they get out of hell? But of course they will. There's issue 10, so
Right,
they get out of hell. But how do they get out of hell?
right.
That's the fun part.
And like I said, it's not the destination; it's the journey getting there. You already know.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. Oh, and Marcus Kellergrew mentions Rob Feldman. Yeah, Psycho KO. Rob's a good dude. Yeah, he had 6 or so issues, a coloring book with Alterna. He's a talented guy, really good guy.
Yeah, I
It
grabbed the
was it was
giant
great working with
coloring
him.
book, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that series was a lot of fun, and I know he's doing a lot of other things with it right now. I wish him nothing but success.
Hmm.
Fantastic stuff.
Oh yeah. But hey, you know what? We've almost hit the hour,
Oh
so
man.
I know it goes so fast. Looks like Chad had a lot of fun, and Vanessa was just
Good.
noticing that you support hiatuses. It's not just her.
Oh, she's the only one that supports a hiatus?
Well, she likes to take like every couple of months or whatever, like a weekend off or something from the chat, or a couple of weeks off from like streaming
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
like that.
You need to refresh yourself. Come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. It's always
And
good.
nobody likes when she does it, because that means one of their favorite shows is like
Aw. Well, disgruntled love.
Henry Bemis says, notice how the world started to go to hell when Roddy Piper passed away.
I do notice that.
That
Yeah,
is a good point.
correct.
He was holding it all back.
Pretty sure it was like either July, I think it was like July 30th or something along those lines, 2015. And
Yeah.
I remember it was around that. It might actually be dead on the day, I forget, but it was horrible because so for those that don't know, I had become a friend of Roddy's because he was in the film The Chair. It's based off of my comic, and I remember talking to his assistant, and I didn't think it was real, and it was weird because I texted him just a couple days prior, and we were talking about a convention that he was going to eventually do in the fall because I had missed one that he had done, I believe, around April.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll be back again, in the fall. We'll catch up, brother," and all these other things. And I had talked to him just a couple of days prior, and it was crazy to just out of the blue. It just didn't seem real. And he was such a great guy, man.
Yeah, I've heard so many good stories.
Yeah, fantastic guy.
I heard a story about one of his favorite movies was Blackbeard's Ghost.
Oh yeah,
he went into his video store and he rented that so dang much they just gave it to him after a while.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is great. I love that movie too. So I was just like, he's my boy.
Yeah. Roddy was funny, man. When I was talking to him, he was comparing some of the themes in The Chair to They Live, and he was saying how this is gonna be. He's like, I'm gonna give my all to this movie because this is something I'm gonna put on my reel to get out there and get A-list work. And I was like, wow. And he was talking about how it reminded him kind of They Live, where there's a perspective to it that's reality, but it's not really reality.
Right.
And he's like, and you buy into it. And he's like, in the story here, like he really got the Chair. It was crazy. Just to hear Roddy Piper talking about something that I made and gushing about it, being so respectful too. He was the only actor who, when he had ideas about the character, would actually talk to me first to get my okay, which I was like, wow.
Right.
Like Roddy Piper's getting my okay. Okay, this is crazy.
Right.
But most of the conversations that we would have would end up turning about family and him asking me about mine and him talking about his and he just really loved his family a lot. He loved the fans a lot, and they meant so much to him. And even my philosophy too with the fans and appreciating everything I've got and the people who are supportive of me really comes from my conversations with Roddy, because he was so appreciative of the people who pretty much gave him everything he had. And whenever he did shows, he would always be there the whole time. And even if they had to close, and because he took his time with people and he'd have a conversation with you, he didn't want to rush you out. And even if they had to close down the show, he'd be like, I'm going to go over here. Everybody that wants to, see me, come over here and I'll make sure you guys get your stuff signed. And, he was great.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's, I've heard so many stories like that. And I maybe, of course, I never met him, but I still miss seeing him in different stuff. Whenever he went on WCW or WWE, didn't matter what he was doing. He was always great because he was so good on the microphone.
Oh,
His movies were always fun. I mean, like Hell Comes to Frogtown and They Live, and no, didn't matter what it was, B movie or otherwise. He was always freaking awesome in those.
He had
movies.
such a presence too, man.
Oh yeah, way of delivering his lines and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Remus says, "I never knew Piper was homeless as a teenager. Probably why it was so genuine."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it just he went through a lot, and talk about like someone who was constantly on a redemption arc.
Yeah.
Not a perfect person. I mean, not that anybody is, but he was a genuine person, and man, he just, family was number one to him. His friends were right up there. People he cared about. If Roddy loved you and cared about you, you knew it. And I don't know how he did it, because he seriously, he just felt like so larger than life and unbelievably grounded at the same time. Just a great dude.
Couldn't have said it better myself, even though I didn't know him. What a heartfelt way to end the show. Everybody, thank you very much for the not quite 6-month show with Pete and I.
4 months. We'll have to do a 4-month schedule at this
maybe
point.
that would probably be better. So everyone have a great night. Get yourself some alternative comics. I put the links once again in the chat. They're also in the replay for all you, or in the description for all you replayers and lurkers. So have a wonderful night. Thank you very much. God bless. See you when I see you next.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.